An all-new season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Mom talk has just been blowing up.
Whitney and Jen are on Dancing with the Stars.
Taylor is a bachelorette.
Saying that out loud is crazy. Like, that is huge.
But all the cool opportunities could pull us apart.
It's causing issues in everyone's marriage.
My whole world is falling apart right now. It's chaos.
Watch the Hulu original series, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville's a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with Dave and me, John.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Some of you right now are listening to this, and it's around spring break. You've either spring broken or you're about to spring break. Some of you are in the middle of it, and it means the world that on the beach, you've decided to listen to us.
Yeah.
You've introduced us into your vacation. Some of you have decided.
Put the noise cancellation on. Just block those waves out. Just listen to the sound waves of our voice.
Oh my gosh. Don't enjoy what you paid all this money for. And then some of you have decided to stay at home because you're like, this is ridiculous how much money we're spending on things.
You don't want to be spring broke.
Should we stop? I don't think we'll beat that. That was really good.
Hey, Jason, edit that to the end. Yeah. We want to work toward it.
Which and look what I'm doing here, John, is it leads right into our conversation today.
Yeah, it does.
About dad guilt. Something John and I have realized is we've gotten behind the veil. We've looked at the metrics, the Dadville metrics, and we found what you guys like is when we're concise and we take a subject.
So you may want to move on to another podcast.
But we've seen you guys like when we do subjects, and so we thought let's try to knock out some subjects that feel sort of universal for potentially dads. Maybe some moms feel this too. And for those kids in the back of the minivan, let's see what you learn.
Well, look, I'll start off by saying, you say maybe some of the moms feel this as well. Surely, first off, I would hope no one feels undue guilt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time for guilt.
Yeah.
If it's due. But I think moms get it unfairly.
Yeah.
Moms have an unfair portion of
guilt.
Mom guilt
versus
dad guilt with a lot of like the typical kind of ways that guilt comes about, like working too much or whatever.
Dad guilt also should be the band that we start in our 60s.
I mean, let's do it. I already have some songs.
Actually, if you just look at my last record, there's a couple there. Okay, so we're just going to kind of go through these with some subjects that I think that we both sort of feel like pertain to dad guilt. Some of it is stuff people talk about. A lot of it is like stuff that dads just kind of don't bring up. But so the first is the work versus presence conundrum.
Yeah.
And, I think for you and I wonder how you feel about this, but ours is kind of tricky because, when we're gone playing shows, you're just gone. So there's no, I should be more attentive because you aren't there. Right? Yeah. But, man, something that I feel like is really weird about what we do is, but when we're home, we're, really home. You're in your backyard. I'm in my backyard working in our studios or writing with other people, but, mostly around.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, a typical writing day, if John and I are writing on our own can be whatever. I mean, we can start that at noon and be done at 2. You can start at 8 and be done at 5.
Yeah.
But, it's on us. It's just on me and you on those days we're writing for ourselves by ourselves. But if we're writing with other people, those are traditionally 10 or 11 a.m. to 3, 4. Late would be 5.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Which I do almost never.
Yeah.
And you do quite frequently.
Yeah. So, you're around. You're around. And those can be movable. It's very common for somebody to be like, hey, I had a meeting come this morning. Can we push to noon or 11 from 10 to 11, whatever. So, it's malleable. Or hey, I've got a thing at 2 I got to be at, you know. And usually those are parental things. Yeah. Kids got to whatever, get a kid out early for a dentist appointment.
Which I kind of love it when, not to get in the weeds of that, but I kind of love it when that happens because you, more often than not, you'll finish the song.
Yeah.
You have this sort of Oh, I thought we had till whenever.
Yeah.
Now we have till 1:45.
Yeah.
Come 1:45, you're done.
Yeah, you're done. Someone said very wise, it's one of my favorite songwriting quotes. It takes the amount of time you have to write the song to write the song.
Yeah.
So if you know you have 2 hours, you kind of go, okay, let's get to
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Which is not always true, but it's a general. But like, where do you live in that tension, between the providing and being there? What does that look like? How do you navigate sort of that thing?
In the beginning, I would say I was terrible at it. But not so much because of the dad guilt. I think it was more husband guilt.
Oh, wow.
Like,
That's interesting.
because when the kids are younger, they're just in the house, and it's like you feel the other side of the sword.
I get that.
Working quote from home. I mean, we're working from home, but thankfully not in the actual house.
Yeah.
Which just would not work.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that's a
it
lot.
has been a game changer for Amy and I, for me to have a structure on our property that is not attached.
Which
to
is
the
funny
house.
because it's only feet away from the house.
Yeah, but
Same as mine.
You just can't. I can't be in the house.
Yeah.
But when it's like when we're in the early days, when babies are crying, just people are crying. You know, stuff is everywhere, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave, but I'm gonna be right over there.
Yeah.
And also, there's nothing that is. I mean, there's not a meeting.
Yeah.
There's not like a Zoom meeting with a board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is malleable.
It's so
malleable. It's like, but, and I think the reason why I'm better at it now than I used to be is I've fudged it a while. And I've I've stayed in the house and I've moved my schedule around.
Yeah.
And after doing that for so long, I'm like, the way that we're set up is, I mean, I got to make some money.
Yeah.
I got to pay the bills.
Oh, yeah.
And if I don't come up with like a little thing on the piano today, that means I don't have a song in the future, and then I don't have a record in the future, and then I don't have a tour in the future, and then I don't have,
Yeah.
So it would be a lot easier sometimes if it were just a 1-to-1 ratio of like, I have to clock in someplace.
Yeah.
Then it would just be black and white.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I think it was really hard for me to walk away from like a crazy scene.
Yeah, and
I felt guilty, but it was like the kids were younger. It was husband guilt. It wasn't dad guilt.
That's a good way to put that. Yeah, you weren't feeling like I'm not somewhere the kids need me to be.
Right. No.
I'm not somewhere my wife needs me to be. Yeah. And again, I think it's a little on the nose and a little like insider baseball, but our job is weird because do you have to go back there right now and get that little idea? It's like, well, I mean, no, but it's top of mind, and I think maybe it'll generate another idea.
Or maybe nothing's top of mind.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back there and I'm going to
play around,
stare out the window.
Yeah, and see if something happens.
Yeah.
It takes really amazing spouses, I think, to have space for that in your marriage with someone that's creative, because it really, so much of it is sort of sitting around trying to start a fire, and sometimes the fire starts and not done. So like, well, what'd you do? How was the fire? And you're like, oh yeah, nothing. Wait, so you were back there for 3 hours and you got no fire? And it's like, no, there's no fire.
And then, you come in, and it's all. I know we've talked about this on here before. This is all my baggage. This is not Amy.
Yeah.
But the two questions that can be triggering are like, so what'd you do today? Or what do you have to do today? Like in the morning version is, what do you have to do today?
Yeah.
And when I'm in a bad place, I hear it as like, you don't have anything that you have to do because you don't have a job, because you don't work.
Yeah.
So what excuse are you gonna give me that you have to leave?
Yeah, you got to go do something.
Yeah,
it's a tricky thing, I think, which kind of also leans into that idea of like the feeling of missing things even when you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So then that's like touring, or you have a right that's like on the books, or someone's like, hey, I need you to re-sing that vocal so I can get the mix done.
Right.
Which is funny because, again, for our work, which is, again, very nuanced, there's just, I mean, I laughed with a friend of mine the other day because he's got like nothing but, he showed me his schedule for the week on his phone, and it's nothing but deadlines.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's what I do. And he was great with it.
Deadlines,
it's like, this is my life. This is how I work.
Yeah.
And I literally said, other than being at a show by sound check at 5:30, play the show at 7:30, and you got to write at 11, I don't really have deadlines for anything.
Yeah.
Now, and he laughed because he's like, that's my nightmare, which I need
Right.
to hear people say that because I can shame myself into like, you just live this Peter Pan lifestyle. And it's like, it takes, I mean, we've talked about this, it takes a weird skill set to do what we do because you have to just have your brain has to be a certain kind of brain to just go, I can pivot at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that gets canceled, I know how to fill the day up. Or, if last minute you have a show pop up, I can make that happen 2 days from now, or a write that pops up. Somebody texts that morning, hey, I need a song for the record. I thought of you today. Can you write at 10? And it's 8:30. You're like, yeah, I can do that. So it does take a skill set, but I think there's also a piece where it's like, that's kind of unfamiliar to me when I have to be somewhere and then something else pops up with the kids or the family.
Yeah.
It's a really weird struggle for me that I think a lot of, dads would say, oh, dude, that's every day for me.
Yeah.
Like I can never quite make it to the softball practice because I've got, work until 5 or whatever. And so I do feel like, I think generally what a struggle of mine with dad guilt that I think may not be particular to me, but I finally figured this out a couple years ago. I just have so much FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a little paternal in that I want to be there and I want them to see that I'm there. But like it's as much I just hate missing things.
Yeah.
I just carry so much weight around like, and I can get a little too this way, but I'm like, that's the last play he'll do in that grade. That's the last game he'll play with that team. That's the last, and which is ridiculous because you can spiral into oblivion with that mindset.
Yeah.
But I know for me, that animates so many of my decisions.
Yeah.
Of feeling like, for better or worse, I'm like, well, I just want to miss it. It's not even, it's a selfish endeavor. It's not even like.
Well, and, you're probably never going to regret it.
Yeah.
It's like one of the areas of life that does feel pretty black and white in that, like, if I lean this way toward, like, going to the play or going to even the practice.
Yeah.
I'm never going to look back and be like, God, I spent too much time with my family.
Waste of time. Yeah, I know. I know. Which isn't
I
that
made
funny?
More money.
Isn't it? Yeah. Well,
no one says that.
I think that's such an interesting. I think that's a very wise thing to keep in your mind's eye.
Yeah.
As you make decisions, it's kind of like, it's that trope. It's like, you think of all the men on their deathbed and no one was ever like, gosh, I just should have worked 10 more hours a week.
Yeah.
Like no one ever says that. But I think it's hard to hold space for that. One, just as an ideology, but two, I think we do need to make money. So it's like you can you'll go, I don't care if you're right. Bills don't change because I'm going to feel bad later.
Yeah.
So I think there's also that pull.
It's like that Tim McGraw song, "Live Like You're Dying."
Oh yeah,
which is great. Like
I thought you were going Indian Outlaw, but yes, that one too is great.
Right, but it's like you can't you can't realistically live your life.
You can't for like a week
as if you're dying.
Yeah, every
day. It's like it's a great idea in the short term, but I think you have to be dying to live like you're dying.
Well, and I think that this is why this is such an interesting conversation, because at some point sacrifices they just have to be made, and you have to go like, hey, bud, like I'm doing the show. I can't be at your last game, the championship game. It's like those things they just happen, and you have to reconcile.
Yeah,
that's just
because another thing that I need to think about, and I'm sure this is on some level universal. What takes me out of, like, when I am there, the whole sort of cliche, like when you're there, you're not really there, you're still at work or whatever. That's not necessarily a struggle for me in terms of like, thinking about, I'm not like sitting there playing a game with my kids, but in my mind, I'm thinking of like a set list or something like that. The only time that kind of feels like that is if I have like a 6 a.m. flight the next day because I'm leaving for a tour.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of tough. But even then, it's like what's taking me away is just the fact that I don't want to leave, and so I'm trying to be so present that I'm not present.
Yeah.
But what I need to think of is, what tends to take me out of the moment is when I'm stressed about finances or something like that. That is my thing. That
that pulls you away.
That pulls me away.
Yeah.
Which, like for Amy, that is not her thing. She doesn't worry about finances. Yeah. That's not everyone's thing. Some people worry about health or some, whatever it is. For me, if I lean too far into like the I'm going to go to every practice. I'm going to put work way down on the priority list or whatever. Eventually, it will lead me to a spot where, okay, now I'm stressed.
Yeah.
And then I'm there, but I'm stressed. And I
Yeah.
don't want to be, then I'm irritable and, So it is a balance on some level.
Well, it's funny. That goes into the second thing, we were going to talk about is that idea of being home, but not really.
Yeah.
And for me, I wish I was more like you, but I'm so the opposite. Like, I think there's nothing that's harder for me, maybe as a dad, than being present, because my brain is just it's just everywhere all the time, and a lot of that is, on me for, not just slowing my brain down and enjoying playing basketball with the kids last night like I did, which was great because it's like it took me a minute, but I got there and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
But, I'm so easily distracted, and it's really hard for me to pull everything that's happening in my brain into the moment, and it be it, like you said, work stress, financial stress, phones is a real struggle with me. And so I think that's another place that's probably one of the things I feel the most. I think of these, maybe the most dad guilt around is just my inability to like really be where I am, because I'm, either thinking of whatever, just name something. It's not even work. It can be anything, how Arsenal are doing.
Yeah.
Just slowing.
Which you have the gift of, like, you could talk about that with your kids because they follow Arsenal.
Yeah.
Like they're into
it's something we can share.
Yeah.
But I think like, I can just, I just zone out so easily in any way. I just something, one of the kids can start talking and suddenly I realize like they've been talking for a minute and I have no idea what they're talking about,
right.
And so I think for me, if I carry guilt in a couple of ways, but that is definitely, I'm ready for my kids being adults and saying like, hey, we love you and you've been a great dad, but man, that was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough feeling like you were physically with us.
Yeah.
Because I think, where, maybe some dads could feel like, gosh, I just don't spend as much time with my kids because, I have to be at work from these hours. I think it's easier for me to feel like, well, I spend a lot of time with my kids. My kids be like, well, yeah, but like, nah.
Yeah, right.
Are you there? Like.
Thoughtfully built wardrobe comes down to pieces that mix well and last. That's where Quince shines. Premium fabrics, considered design, and everyday essentials that feel effortless to wear and dependable even as the seasons change. You know why I love Quince? It has the everyday essentials I love with quality that lasts. Lightweight cashmere sweaters, linen shorts, tees, and 100% Pima cotton. These are the versatile pieces that make a wardrobe actually work season to season. The reason the value is great is because Quince works directly with top factories and cuts out the middlemen. You're not paying for brand markup. No, just quality clothing. Everything is built to hold up to regular wear and still look good. And they only partner with factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. Those linen shorts I mentioned, they've become my go-to. I have 4 pairs. That's one more than 3. They don't wrinkle like cheap linen does, and they work with everything, and they didn't cost a fortune either. Stop overcomplicating your wardrobe. You don't need a closet full of options. You need a few pieces that actually work. Right now, go to quince.com/Dadville for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's a full year to build your wardrobe and love it. And you will. Now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last, you silly geese. Go to quince.com/Dadville for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Dadville.
Yeah, and I wonder if that would be true. Like if they really do feel that way.
Yeah.
But I think those moments where you do notice, like what you're describing, where you weren't paying attention or whatever. I think those, it's like reading, like 100 great reviews for your album and the one bad one.
Yeah.
It's like that moment that I talked about on the podcast a few episodes ago where Livy and I were hanging and I asked about something and she was like, okay, this is how I know you don't listen to me.
Yes.
I still think about that like every other day.
Yeah.
And we've talked, I apologize and it's fine.
Yeah.
But just those moments,
yeah,
like you're describing, where it's like, I think because I can empathize with how she felt in that moment, which hurts anytime you're talking with a friend and they tell you a story and you're like, yeah, you told me that.
You told me that.
So do you not remember
Yeah.
anything about this? Am I just a warm body that you're speaking to right now? And then it's her dad, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's probably, I don't know. I wonder if your kids would actually feel that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or you just have such an eye on it.
Well, you know, the good thing, I will say this, to your point about Liv, like they are good about, and maybe this is the only time they feel it is when they say it, but they will say like, Dad, could you please get off your phone?
Yeah.
Or like, hey, would you listen to me? Like, look at me or something.
Which probably when they stop doing that means it's worse.
It's gotten really bad.
It's gotten really bad.
I will say, and this is not a paid promotion, but I bought one of those bricks. Do you know about those? And it's like a little tile you put on your.
So this is an example of like, yes, Dave, we've talked about it.
But yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we talked on the pod about it. But it's great. It's really helpful because you put your phone up to it, and it'll brick whatever apps you want it to.
Yeah.
And that's been, and honestly, I've been off Twitter for Lent, which has given me, I'm embarrassed to say how much time back because a lot of
I gave up Instagram for Lent, and it almost takes the phone out of the equation.
It does.
Completely.
I agree. Because
I'm like,
well, there's just,
I could check the weather again.
Yeah.
But it's probably, it's going to be
yeah,
cloudy.
it's an.
Let's see, what is the weather in Omaha? God, I haven't checked the weather in Omaha in forever.
Okay, where are you on comparing yourself with other dads? Like, where do you sit in that dad guilt, space-time continuum?
You know, it's funny because this is maybe top of mind because we were just talking about kind of the early dad stages. But to reiterate the point that I was for a long time bad about being disciplined about work, I would compare myself with dads when I would notice, oh, this is like the third or fourth thing I've kind of been at with the kids where I'm the only dad. It's like, it's me and Amy and a bunch of moms, and I'm like, I should be working right now. Then you start thinking like, is everyone thinking, how do they live their life?
Do they have oil money? Boy, Dadville must be doing
gotta
well.
Be olive oil money. They don't seem like the type.
Olive oil money. You know what's funny when you say that? I think of that the other way. I can almost, I've noticed in my heart times where I feel prideful.
Oh,
because I'm like,
you're the only one there.
Look at the dad who's here.
Well,
everybody.
And maybe I felt that way the first 2 times, and then after 4 times, I'm like,
oh, and let me tell you, let me add to that. I've gotten now with Annie, I'll be like, can you find out if other dads will be there?
Oh,
because I'm like,
yeah.
I don't. I mean, sometimes it's great and I'm glad to be there, but a lot of times I'm like, I don't. That's a little. It gets a little weird.
Yeah,
it just gets a little weird.
Yeah,
And
sometimes I feel like I don't know if this doesn't have to be comparison. If I'm completely truthful, there was a little tinge of comparison with this, but it benefited me greatly. Our friend Matt Lehman years ago was telling me about a trip that he took with his son, and just the two of them, and they went to DC, and it was this great trip. And it started with sort of like, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's comparison. I'm like, I haven't even thought about doing that. Why didn't I think of doing that? I want to do that. And so I did it. And it was, 2 of the highlights of my life were these 2 trips that I took with the girls.
Yeah.
Just the 2 of us. And I don't know that I would have done that had I not had that moment where I'm kind of feeling jealous and I'm comparing.
Yeah,
and I'm feeling guilty.
It can spur great things too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think what I get the most envious of in other dads is intentionality. That's the piece. Like when I get around really intentional dads, it really sparks something in me that's like, man, they are they're thinking of everything.
Yeah.
Like those trips
Their kids
is one.
are like opening letters.
Yeah.
My dad writes me a letter every morning. Does your
is that not?
dad not?
Does
Do you guys not have stationery? Or?
Oh yeah. And does he do Spanish Wednesdays where he does it in Spanish just so you wants you to learn Spanish? I was with a really dear friend of mine this weekend. A shout out to Jared Grigger, who was in Norman. I played a show there, and we got to hang for the day. And Jared is just one of my favorite people. He is truly one of the funniest people I know. And he makes me laugh about as hard as anybody can make me laugh. And so it was just good being with him. But he's got 4 daughters who were just the greatest. And it was one of those hysterical moments where we went to his house and, they had a chore chart and it had the names. And like on cue, one of the daughters walks in and is like talking to the other daughter, like, hey, do you want to swap? Because I can do your sous chef night, which means they help mom with my, whatever duty. And she was like, no, I kind of need, okay, well, and it was just like everything was so like drilled in. Like before I came, they cleaned the house because they knew I'd be there and I needed to use their shower to get ready for the show. And they cleaned the shower. And it was just like.
Now, did you check to see if there was a price tag on?
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I found. They do allowances. And
I meant like he had just bought a chore chart. And he's going to return it as soon as Dave's flight leaves.
You know, it's funny that you say that. They did say, Dad, that's your handwriting, which made me think, like, if Jared had, like, ran over before I got there and, like, filled everything in. They literally were like, oh, that's interesting. Not Mom's handwriting. But I just think Jared, they're doing a really good job with those girls of, like, and, man, Annie and I don't know. I've thought about this so much. I don't know if it's it's probably all these things, but, our impatience, the fact that we're both first children and don't have – like we're just so self-motivated that we won't let our kids do things because they're not doing it right. Or we're just like, we'll just do it, It's probably a lot of these dysfunctional things. But I got so convicted in the word. That's not right. Because it was more guilt and shame of just feeling like, yeah, I mean, your kids are going to be great. Our kids will work for your kids, probably lower level, jobs And it was funny because it was so sweet. I just texted him. I was like, man, I just want to say it was so fun being with y'all. So inspiring to see how great y'all are doing with the girls. And he just sent the sweetest thing back. And because I was just like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'll just tell you. It's really simple. We just have these. But that thing for me, I get a lot of dad guilt around like feeling like I'm really dropping the ball with giving them like chores. And we have a chore chart and they're doing the things. And this is what they do. And, feeling like I'm spoiling my kids all the time.
Yeah.
I feel that so much.
Yeah. I do too, and I do think.
I needed you to say that so bad.
No, truly, I mean, this is one of the things that I think about a lot because I feel like our life, like when you say one of the things was sous chef, first thing I'm thinking is what a great idea. That's
amazing.
Cool.
Isn't that a great idea?
That's a great idea, but I'm like, our kids are too busy. Like our life. Barely has it doesn't feel like our life has routine because a lot of their this may be a cop out, but I'm like they do they do soccer, both of them, but they both do theater stuff and theater is not like clockwork. It's one day they need these cast members.
Oh, right,
till
right,
7.
right.
But some nights they don't have practice because they're working with this different group.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have a routine.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't feel guilty at all about not having a chore chart.
Yeah, I just feel I don't know, man. I this weekend was so fun, but I definitely felt like it was, and I think you made a great point, and this can't be said enough. There are good things that come from this. Like it really. Annie and I sat down. And she's like, hey. Let's just do better with this. Let's maybe see what Jared says, see if there's some stuff we can implement into our kids in our life. So it doesn't all have to be this sort of black hole of guilt and shame.
Totally.
I think there's great things that get or just great ideas, even if that's the way to say it.
And it feels like that old when's the best time to plant a tree?
Yeah.
50 years ago.
50.
The second best is today. So it's like forget about the fact that you haven't had a chore chart. If you want a chore chart, just start it now or whatever.
Yeah, but man, I mean, you want to see me get triggered. It's in two kinds of conversations. One, like, sorry, he's late coming in. I have him cleaning the tires because it's Wednesday. And he'll be, and then he'll know that you wanted Pepsi, so I had him make some, drinks for, and I'm like, oh my God. Or it's like, what are you guys doing for spring break? Well, me and my daughter, she's always wanted to see a a ballet, and so we're flying to Russia to see, Shuplev Swan Dive River, and it's or like me and my son, he just really loves baseball, and he's always wanted to see the Indians play. So we're going up to Cleveland for 2 nights. And
he's already met all of the unhoused here, so we're going to a different community for him just to minister to them.
It just pings something so deep in my soul where I'm just like, I'm just dropping every ball there is to drop.
And
in
it
these
sounds
scenarios.
cheesy, but it's true. It's like you wouldn't feel it if you didn't care and you didn't want.
Yeah.
You
Some of this, can I just overlay? I think this is a good place to say this. Can I just lay this too? I think our generation, dare I say this, and people may stop listening at this point. And you can attribute this to me, Dave, not John, because John didn't say this. I also think this is something that feels very particular to our generation of parents. This like over-parenting. It's we want our kid to have every experience, and we want to have the best relationship we can have with kids. And those are great things, but I think there's a little bit of this that you have to go like, hey, those are great intentions. I don't know that they're making your kid a better kid at some point. It's just you're giving them more experiences that you can relate to, but do kids that don't get to do that have worse relationships with their parents or end up worse kids? Of course they don't.
Well, I think we're like the chore chart is an interesting specific topic to zero in on, because I would agree with you. It reminds me of what my dad said to me a year or two ago, which I think I've said on here, that he said,
why didn't you get a real job?
Yeah. And I'm like, Dad, why do you always have to start with that? No, I'm kidding. That's a total joke. My dad loves that.
I was going to say there's nobody that's more supportive than
exactly. No, but my dad said his generation, the sort of goal of parents was to raise well-adjusted kids who could live in the world and function.
Yeah, I love
this.
He's
like, your generation seems to be, the goal is, I want to know my kid as much as I can know my kid.
Yeah.
And he wasn't saying it in a judgmental, he wasn't saying like, our way is obviously better than your way. He was just like, this seems to be my observation.
Yeah.
And so I totally agree with you that our generation tends to, like, we're moving toward over-parenting with every generation, it seems. But I do think that the chore chart thing, to me, feels like an effort to pull that back a little bit. Because it's like, that's an effort toward getting my kids to be more autonomous, more responsible, more, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. And I do think that you can just focus on it too much, and you can parent, the great moments out of your relationship with your kids. Hey everybody, it's John here. It's just going to be me on this one because I'm that passionate about it. Now listen, I want to tell you about Time for Learning. Time for Learning believes in harnessing the flexibility of homeschool to help families explore passions, travel, and hobbies without the constraints of traditional school hours. So you could have school like on top of a mountain, right? Or in the middle of the ocean, whatever. You can schedule a mix of subjects each day or focus on specific ones by the day. Time for Learning is incredible in the way that it has everything you need to teach pre-K through 12th grade at home with all the core and elective classes offered in a traditional brick and mortar school. Now, the Cinema series, it might be my favorite. It's rich, story-driven courses for grades 6 through 12 that bring learning to life. Get started with a monthly plan to see if Time for Learning is right for you and your family. You got multiple students? You can save up to 30% by opting for an annual plan. Time for Learning's templates for transcripts, grades, and diplomas make it easy to match homeschool requirements in all 50 states. And the templates can be used as a main curriculum, supplement, or even after-school or summer learning series. Now, for me personally, I'm just thinking how Time for Learning could help us musicians while we're on tour. I mean, we could educate our little ones every day in any city right before sound check. I mean, that would be living the dream.
And after 20 years of over 1 million students served, Time for Learning is the best way to nurture confident, future-forward kids and get them ready to thrive in college and career. If you're curious if Time for Learning is right for your family, visit timeforlearning.com. That's TIME, the number 4, and learning.com to explore the curriculum and find the perfect plan for your student. You can even get started with just a monthly subscription to see how much your kids enjoy learning on their own terms. Timeforlearning.com.
Well, and you know too, which I think is another piece is, to me, kind of the great divider of these things in some ways, in my brain at least, is like some of this is just complete selfish ambition. It's a work to assuage this guilt we have as dads away. It has nothing to do with your kid. It literally has nothing. You want to do those things because either it just feels good to do them, and it sort of like tames the tiger in you of like, hey, you did something good, and it kind of lays down for a minute, and you're like, oh, I'm being a good dad. It's something you can tell your friends you did. That feels really good. To be like, well, I don't know if y'all know, but we went and did the Pope John Paul walk. Just the two of us. He's 2, but it was, I could tell. He took it in.
He led me.
They were one set of footprints, and they were tiny. So I think some of what I have to watch in me, and my encouragement for dads and moms that are listening that may struggle with this too, is like really having to walk that fine line of like, what of this is me trying to tick some shame guilt box in me to feel better as a dad or mom, and then what is really, I think this is a wonderful experience for my child, or makes them better, or it gives us a chance to connect, and that helps me a lot because I think I get a lot clearer when I get in that space. It has less guilt, it has less shame. It really is thinking more of my child in a really great way, and less about like, man, I just feel like I got to do that, I guess, so let's book it. And again, it's not that those things will be bad that you did them. That's not the point. But I think it's just such a different mentality on how you think about it, and really even how those things go. Because I think when you do them in a benevolent sort of sense, I think they feel different than sort of like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then either you get mad halfway through the trip because you don't want to be there in the first place, or the kids reading like, are you enjoying this? Or you're not being present like we've talked about. But I think for me that helps me a lot is when I kind of realize like, oh, I'm definitely coming out of just an absolute guilt, shame thing, whatever I'm planning. The most beautiful thing I'm planning, but I'm just like, I'm doing this just because I know a few of my friends did it and I feel terrible I hadn't done it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
That sort of conundrum.
Do you feel like your guilt, your version of dad guilt has evolved?
Oh, that's a great question.
In the last like 14 years of being a dad?
Do you feel like that way?
I do. I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking like I do think what kind of used to motivate my guilt or trigger it, I suppose, feels different now. It feels like in the early stages, it felt more like ostensibly selfish, like me-centered. Like I used to, as I've said on here before, like I would go to bed and I would feel this guilt of like, I didn't do it right today. It was like a feeling that I had that affected me because the girls were so young. I didn't think that it was, I'm not laying in bed thinking they're up there feeling like I didn't have a great dad today. I felt like they're fine. They're oblivious. Yeah. I just didn't connect with them today. It was something for me. And now it feels like the decisions that I'm making now more so affect them. It's less, I feel more secure almost, but I feel like, are they okay? I don't want them to be laying in bed at night thinking, yeah, Dad seemed distracted today, or like with Livy, like, yeah, he didn't listen to me today. Does he not ever listen to It's more that kind of stuff. It's I more so feel like I'm okay personally, but I'm worried about them now. Yeah. Whereas in the beginning, I was worried about me. Yeah. And they're fine.
That's great. Yeah, and I think it's funny. It goes in there was a couple other things I wanted to talk about, and this is the next one. Is like this idea of like fear of messing your kids up. And I think for me, I know, stay with me, but I think that's more where it translates for me is this feeling of like, oh gosh, have I done something that now has rearranged there?
Yeah.
So it's funny as I'm saying this, and really wise people are listening to this and probably having this thought, but like, man, Dave seems to talk a lot about his self, which is so much of it is like a me oriented, which is, I mean, that's why we're having this conversation.
Right.
But it's funny for me to realize there is a through line to these struggles, which is like the more I'm sort of focused on me and what I'm doing, it doesn't probably help the situation, which obviously you want to be conscious of yourself and you know, do your work and all the things we talk about so much on here. But I think for me, I can spend more time as they get older thinking about, to answer your question, how if I'm giving them what they need, because now we're really, I mean, I feel like, you know, we're getting into the real stuff now. Now, you know, we've gone from like, are they safe? Are they eating?
Yeah.
Are they sleeping well? Do they know I'm physically there for them? To like, okay, we're getting into like, they need to know the rules for the road now. Like, it's a much more engaged emotionally, spiritually, mentally.
And these are like, these are the core memories that they're going to look back on.
This is when they ask the question. You're like, oh my God, they're asking the question. Or we're having like one of those talks that you have about these things. And so I think now I find myself spending a lot more time. Ben got in the car. It's kind of the first time I really felt the depth of this. But Ben got in the car the other day and talked about something he had learned at church, which is just a simple thing. He was just like talking about prayer and some things. And for some reason, it was the first time as a dad that I went, oh my gosh, like this is a big thing to learn. And they talked about it there kind of first, not with me. And I just felt this huge wave of shame and guilt. But after that, thankfully, I went, hey, this is just a great kind of, not wake up call, but like a moment to realize like, hey, this is when I need to really sort of lock in a little more on, okay, what are the things I really want Ben to know and be a part of those conversations, which I already am. You know, it's not that, but I think in ways that are probably a little more intentional than I'd been giving him to.
Because ideally you wanted to have that conversation with him first.
Or just be a part of it, and which we were, which is great because we had it. But I think it was just like this sort of warning shot of like, hey, this is the thing we're entering now. You know, we're kind of moving from one thing to another. Yeah. And we've had those conversations, whatever, but really going like, this is going to really start happening at a high click now where it's like, oh, I had this conversation. Then forget even spiritual stuff. Just like over here, somebody's talking about cars or money or where do you invest or how do you have it? It's like, oh, this is it now. Here we go. You know, John Tyson's talked about this so much and John Mark Comer, all our friends. But like, it was the first time I went, oh, I need to really, really double down on this stuff now. Yeah. And just, you know, then kicking up all the things like, oh gosh, what have I not said or what, you know, that kind of thing. Which Annie is naturally just infinitely better at. Like, I just think she is so much better at than me on going, ask more questions, ask more about that, ask more about that. Oh, you know what you should ask? Because what he's really saying without knowing is this. And I'm okay at that. But she would never, I don't think, be as concerned about, are we having the conversation? Because she's just doing it.
Right.
Where I'm like, oh gosh, you know, like, is this when you sort of stop in your brain and go, oh, address that. Okay, really like double down, you know. So I find I can feel the shift of like, and I think when I think about, am I messing them up? I would say maybe one of the main ways I feel that is like making sure I'm paying attention to moments to have the conversations appropriate to those moments and not being gone in my head or not picking up on a cue to go, oh, well, tell me more about that, bud. Why'd you feel that way? Or like, you know, it's funny, like, as a dude, this is going to be a thing, and you got to really watch that or whatever. Yeah. You know, I feel that a lot, a lot. You know. Yeah,
I mean, I definitely worry about, you know, are we messing them up? And I do believe, you know, it's a joke, but it's a joke. It's a cliche joke because there's obviously truth to it. Like, our kids are going to be in therapy for something.
Yeah.
So let's, you know.
Yeah.
But you just want to mitigate it as much as possible. And I do really think, like, I want to have those great conversations, you know, when they come up. But I do believe they are paying much more attention to what I'm doing
Yes.
and how I'm living my life,
Yes.
then they are remembering
Yeah.
something I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's great because that's great motivation for me to make sure that I'm, living the kind of life that I want them to see me live.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in the shadows, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, they don't see you in there. That's why they're the shadows, man. They're not. Well, too, I mean, I think that, and maybe I'm simplifying this, but I think so much of the dilemma of trying to think about how your kids navigate, and I think about my childhood, so much of it was caught, not taught, which we've talked about infinite times on this podcast with experts. So there's a relief in that in some ways, but also like, my kids aren't thinking about this like I am. Right. They're not thinking about me like I am. Like, sure, there will be things that I've done infinitely or that were tough for them. And there's things that I've said I shouldn't have said. But they're not walking through this like I am. And so I think they're thinking about themselves, like and all they got going on. And so there has to be an amount of grace for going, there's just so much you can do. And then you have to be, as you said so well, really reconciled to the fact that we're going to drop the ball. The best we can do is apologize when we know we have, or when they bring that up to us in ways that are appropriate to that situation. And then just going, we got prayerfully all this life to walk through with them to keep doing this. And for the things that rupture and repair, like Dave and Sissy talk about, like things that don't go well, let's fix them when they come to light. But to sort of micromanage my fathering, my being a dad to them is just that's a lot. It's a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I think what you said, and I think probably, we can land the plane here, but I think like if there's anything that I would say, and I know you and I have talked about this, and I don't mean to, beat a dead horse, but I think something I find myself thinking so much about is, and something that gives me a lot of peace, is going, if I'm doing the best I can do to, with my prayer life, with my time in the Word, with my relationship with Jesus, with my relationship with Annie, with my relationship with my friends, my family, if I'm doing the best I can there, if I'm, this phrase gets said so much, but it's true. If I'm working on myself, that's when I need to talk to someone that knows more than I do to advise me, be it that therapist or a mentor, my parents, whatever, doing those things. I just think, I really believe this. I believe this so strongly. I just don't think God made this to be hard. And what I mean by that is, and I think, I don't know if Stephen said this on the pod, but I feel like he has, but like, there's this crazy stat that like, it's like 80% of a kid's emotional scaffolding is done by like 3.
Yeah.
And so what that infers to me is 90% of that is caught. It's just them reading their environment. Am I safe? Am I cared for? Do they love me? So it's so much is just built out, and then the rest you're working on the rest of their life. But I think there's this core feeling kids understand, for good or bad, that like, hey, mom and dad are for me. They love each other, or whatever. Single parent, they're there for me. They're doing everything they can for me. And I kind of read that this is hard on them, but I think they really like me, and I think they want me to do well, and they're sacrificing me. And so I just think God in His wisdom, and I really believe this, I think He's like, look, guys, if you can just do a couple things well, you can make up for the rest. You really can. Like, just care for the people in your life well. Let them see what matters to you, and that you'll do sacrifice to make those things work like you feel like are appropriate. Pay attention to them. And when you don't, apologize. When you mess things up, apologize. But like, I just feel like He's like, if you can just kind of stick the landing on a couple of really simple things you can actually control, that you really can't control.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but I think it'll be okay. I really believe that, And so I think for all the guilt that I can take into my life, I just feel like God over and over is like, hey man, don't get caught in the small stuff. Because that's gonna be where you get in trouble, because you won't be paying attention to those 2 or 3 things that are just really important, but doable, but really doable. And just listen to your kids, like being present, shooting basketball, whatever the things you can do, just do those the best you can. Because I think, like I've said, and this is what I've said a million times, but I think as long as they know the spirit between you is good, I think that's so much of it.
Yeah.
They know your intent is the right intent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go buy a chore chart real quick.
I thought you were about to say a churro.
How to make a chore chart with your bare hands.
That